Morning, everyone. My name's Paul, and welcome to the one of our series of Business Central Focus webinars from TVT. Today, as it says on the screen, hopefully you can see, we're focusing on CRM. So before I kick off, I'll do a few intros. My name's Paul, I'm the CTO at TVision. And with me, I've got Nick. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, morning. Nick Macon, sales manager at TVT. So yes, nice to see everybody. Thank you for jumping on.
And Nikki.
Hi, I'm Nikki. I'm the sales exec assistant here at TVT. I cover all things licenses, funding and partners, but I will also be keeping an eye on the chat throughout. So if you have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A. Thanks.
Yeah, with that, actually, it's a good point. That was the introduction. We'll move on to the introduction. As Nikki said, the way we tend to run these things, hopefully it'll be fairly conversational, and we'll cover a lot of topics around this CRM. But if you do have questions, please pop them into the Q&A section you should see in your window in Teams, and Nikki, she says, keep an eye on that, so she will interrupt us, hopefully, with relevant questions. If they're not relevant, then we'll probably entertain those as well. There will be a record. We are recording this session, so we will make the recording available afterwards. It usually takes about a day just to get us for us to get those things published out, so bear with us, but we'll share a recording for you all to access if you want it. So today the topic we're going to talk about, as I've mentioned a couple of times now, is CRM, which is a little bit of an elusive acronym, if I'm being honest, or certainly a misunderstood one. I think we've been doing this for a long time, Nick and I, and we have a lot of people talk to us about CRM, and they tend to mean one of three things. CRM for lots of people means marketing or digital marketing primarily. So, mail shot campaigns, mass mailings, emails, websites, all that sort of kind of outbound marketing and lead generation. That's one element of CRM. I think other people look at CRM and they talk to us about case and ticket management, customer service side of things, where we're looking after customers once they're on board and managing the relationship with the ongoing relationship of a customer. And then the third type of CRM that we talk a lot about is opportunity management, lead generation, lead management, contact management, the kind of the sales process of CRM. So getting from an opportunity or a lead all the way through, hopefully delivering some goods or services to them. And from our perspective, that's the type of CRM we are going to talk about today. That's certainly the type of CRM that Business Central has in the box. So if you're here looking for a replacement to HubSpot's campaign management marketing piece, this isn't that, and we aren't going to tell you that Business Central is the world's greatest marketing tool. And if you're looking for a Zendesk or a Freshdesk or all those sorts of ticket and case management solutions, again, we're not really looking at that today. The Business Central at the moment doesn't have one of those in the box, so it's not kind of where we're focusing. Today we're focusing primarily on this idea of prospect through to opportunity, through that pipeline, through to getting into the getting the order in the door, so to speak. So that's the kind of CRM we're talking about today. But the question really is, why now? CRM has been in BC and NAV since the beginning of time almost. So why are we focusing on it now? Nick, why are we talking about this now?
I suppose, I guess over the past few months, Anne and I have been talking to a lot of you, hopefully on the webinar. We're familiar names at this point, and quite a few people have asked us about CRM, and it seems to be like quite underrated part of the solution, in all honesty. And I think it's kind of so easy when you're going through the project and implementing the ERP for the first time to focus on the important stuff, which is finance, ops, getting that right. And there's been quite a few of our kind of customers we work with who forgot that this also has a contact management system in it, and they've had people doing it on spreadsheets or off system in little black books separately, and it's been really easy for them just to say, hey, here's the contact database in BC, have a go at it. So it's kind of been interesting to see a few people reach out to us to say, oh, can we have a chat about CRM? So we thought, why not kind of put this together and kind of show you everything it can do. But also, I think we're also, what's the right phrase for customer 101 here? I kind of say, especially in my world of business, I use Business Central for a CRM, which feels like a really shameful thing to admit, but that's because we actually think it's quite good in terms of like contact management, sales quotes, opportunities. And kind of here, I'm kind of a little bit conflicted because I'm like end user as well as kind of presenter. So hopefully we'll show you kind of how we use it. And I think as well, the third point, Paul, is we've gone on like a similar journey ourselves. Like a year ago, we had another, probably shouldn't say this, Microsoft-based sales system, but for the sales team and the account managers. But then the rest of the business uses Business Central. So, we've got customers in Business Central. You'd be pleased to hear we use BC, obviously. So we've got customers in BC. We invoice out of BC. We've got items in BC, prices in BC. And we kind of thought, well, why not just start to use BC for, contact management and the this sales and opportunity bit of it, rather than having two separate systems not talking to each other. So I think really those, from my perspective, they're kind of the key things why it makes sense to have the conversation now, which we can hopefully run through.
Yeah, I think so. From my perspective as well, I think we do get a lot of people asking us about CRM. We do use it internally. The question is why, and I think the big part for my view is integration. There's the real power in having the sales team working on the same system as the rest of the business. So access to information, financial information, fulfillment, all that sort of stuff. The warehouse all the way through is all connected up through the same system to the CRM module, which can be done in other solutions. You can go and get Salesforce and bolt it in, but it's harder and you've got to do more work. With BC, it's kind of there, one click and you're into that financial information. I think before we kick off in terms of showing you some software, I think it's worth saying as well, we don't think this is the world's greatest is probably a strong word. It's not if you've got a Salesforce of 300 people out on the road every day, it might not be the solution for you. Salesforce and those sort of products are really good products that have their place. But we think Business Central's got a lot of value to it, and it's something you've got in the box already. And similarly, from a product perspective, we are looking to extend it and add some features to it that we think potentially Microsoft haven't added or for whatever reason. So we are looking to extend, and we're kind of using this session a little bit to gather a bit of feedback as well for where do you see the gaps. If you look at what we showed today and think, yeah, it's not for us, be really interested to know why, because we're looking to fill those gaps and make it a thing that more people can use. So with that in mind, we shall get on with it. So the way we're going to run this, we'll just run through some of the software. We're not going to do loads of PowerPoint. We just thought we'd show you some processes and show you the functionality of the software and kind of have a chat about it. So I'm going to hand over to Nick, who's going to talk us through an end-to-end of CRM in BC.
Amazing. Okay, let me just share my screen. Hopefully you can see probably something we spend our lives in, which is Outlook. I guess that's all coming through. So let's kind of walk through the process end to end, really. And, from a sales or, opportunity perspective, a lot of it may start with somebody reaching out to us. Yeah. They may send you an email. They may text you. Hopefully they don't text you, but they may send you an email, or they may fill out a form on the website. And that's what happens, for us a lot of the time. We have contact forms on the website. Someone pops a message in. We get an email like this. So the process, the ball starts to run. So here I am logged in to Outlook, obviously, and I received an email from Nick. He's filled in a form on the website saying, "Hi, I've looked at your website and looking to refurnish our office and interested in getting some new desks and chairs." So in this kind of, part of the multiverse, we sell chairs and desks and things to people. So we'll try and, keep up with that. So again, one thing which is really nice and something which people often forget about is, again, going back to that connectivity. You can install this Business Central Outlook add-in into Outlook, and it's really, really nice. So from here, if without kind of toggling between systems or having to create Nick as a contact manually, I can just pop up here and press Contact Insights directly in Outlook. Again, this could be, I'm on my laptop here, but if I was on my phone, same functionality exists. I just click the email, click Contact, and this is a really nice example. It's saying, okay, this sender is not amongst your contacts based on the email address. So you do want to go and create Nick as a contact in the contact management database of BC. So you can just go ahead, click that, and it'll go ahead and create the contact. And you can also kind of associate him to, or them to a company. So again, I could create a company contact, I could create a person. I think I've already got TBT created here. So for the sake of simplicity, I'll just go and select it. But it's really, really straightforward to get the process kind of going and to get the ball rolling here. The first thing we do, obviously, is trying to, create contacts, update contacts. And from Outlook, you can just go create a contact, and there we go. So
I think it's really, just to jump in, I think it's really, we're going to talk you through a lot of product here in a minute. We're going to have opportunities and all these features. But if all you need is an address book and you don't have that at the moment, it's a really nice way to maintain an address book. Is most of your communication comes through email. Just adding that person to your CRM system, so you've got them for later use. Even if you're just later going to throw it to Excel and send it to a different system, it's a really quick and easy way to capture accurate email addresses that are live. It's worth noting.
Yeah, and it happens in real life. We were speaking to someone where they have no contacts in Business Central. They have no contacts anywhere, not even in Excel. Their team just kind of write them down in their own diaries. So this person was, panicking in case somebody wins the lottery and disappears. How can we quickly get these contacts and data into one place? So they could just go through the email and create the contacts as they go. So really straightforward to do so. Okay, so now we've created Nick's contact. Let's walk through creating an opportunity in BC, updating an opportunity, creating a quote, all that process end to end, so you can see how that works. So if I just flick over here, I'm logged into Business Central, obviously, and this is a sales and kind of relationship role center that Microsoft kind of have out of the box. So there's a few different role centers. I'm in the sales and relationship manager one, and it's kind of nice, to be honest. Gonna give them a little bit of credit. Hidden a few things away, but from here I can see contacts, I can see people, I can see opportunities, I can see overdue opportunities, which is really helpful. It's kind of prompting me what's overdue, what do I need to follow up on, and you can probably see below as well. Kind of got a few nice pipeline reports. We'll look at kind of pipeline in a minute, but here I can see pipeline for existing customers, pipeline for new customers, top opportunities, and I can even see opportunities by status by salesperson as well, which is kind of really nice. So if I'm managing a sales team out on the road, I can quickly see what's going on directly from here. That being said, though, I think the first place to start from is the contact list in BC. So if we just open this up, a lot of you will be familiar with kind of how lists and pages work in BC already. But the first thing to probably show is we can see at the very bottom there, Nick's been created in this database from the Outlook admin thing, which is really nice. So Nick exists. From here, obviously I can search for contacts assigned to me as the salesperson code. So in this case, I'm playing the role as JO, so I can see all of those contacts. Or if I'm trying to search for everyone at TBT, I can just type it in and there we go. So we've got, in that case, Nick. And interestingly as well, you see contacts which are set to bold, and these are contacts of type companies. So it's really easy to create a contact for a company. And when you create another contact for a person, they nest under each other. So you've got them in one place, which is really nice. Although we've created that contact being created automatically for us, it is really easy to create a contact manually. So kind of takes about 10 seconds in all honesty. So in this case, so I exist, let's create Nikki as an example. It just takes 10 seconds to create a contact. In this case, Nikki is, I believe, a person, not a company. So I'm just going to update that. And then I can go and find a company that Nikki works for. And then we've added someone else into our contact database and against TBT. Really easy to do so. Again, all contact info. I'm not going to put Nikki's address in there. Phone, email address, all of that you can put in. And if not, it'll default from the contact information you put on the company. So if I've got address, phone number, there's even a fax field in here hidden away, funnily enough, or email on the company, it'll default on the person, but I can just go ahead and pop the email address in there. So really easy to contact.
So we'll touch on it in a little while about how this links into customers. But one of the things that Microsoft did change, that if you looked at getting this stuff set up a while ago, you've been frustrated by the fact that to link contacts to the financial entity of the customer, it needs to be a company. Microsoft changed that a few versions ago. So now you can just create people and say, this is a person who is a customer that we deal with. You don't have to fake create a bunch of create them as companies in the contact database when they're not. They're just individuals. So it's worth noting. Microsoft are tweaking these things based on feedback.
Yeah.
And we do have a question in the chat. How does it handle contacts with shared email addresses? For example, clients who all use the same email address to contact us.
So you can set up multiple contacts with the same email address with a different name. Obviously, outbound communications, then it'll just send to that email address. It'll treat them as duplicates. So if you later on will talk about segmentation, it will send two emails to two different names at the same email address. We set them up with the same thing. In terms of how the Outlook thing works, it'll find the first contact in the list for that email address. So if they always send you emails from info at, it'll just find the first contact with that name and show you their information, obviously linked to that main company. So it'll allow you to do it. There is a deduping process as well if you want to dedupe those things. But yeah, you can have multiple people with the same email address. BC just sort of treats them as individuals and sends two emails if you press send email to both.
Cool. That may be the record for the earliest question we've had. So yeah, keep them coming. Really helpful. A few quick things before we create that opportunity. You can see here, you can upload any attachments or add any quick notes against the contact. And then if I just go back to the contact list as well, all of our contacts against their TBT. A function which I, in all honesty, forgot about, which I'm going to use internally. There's this synchronize with Outlook here. So we've got all the contacts in Business Central. Let's imagine someone new joins the business. They could come into here, press sync with Outlook, and it'll create those contacts in their email for them as well, which is really, really helpful. So going back to the first email we had an email from Nick saying he wanted to kind of inquire about some furniture. So I'm just going to select Nick in the record here and then click create opportunity. Now we're going to get the ball rolling, create an opportunity in BC. So I think this is for new office refurb. So you pop in a description. It's already got the contact in person against it. I can pop in a salesperson code, and we then come to this thing here called sales cycle code. These things are really important and really kind of helpful because they define the process of kind of what stages we go through in order to manage this opportunity. You can create as many as you'd like in here. So you just click new and you can set them all up. You can have a different process for new customers or existing customers, or big opportunities, little opportunities, international, domestic, whatever the process may be. You can create different sales cycles in here. But just to show you what they look like, if we open up this new customer sales cycle, if you go to then stages, this defines the process we will progress this opportunity through. So in this case, it's going to go through 5 stages: initiation, qualification. We're going to present something, present a chair to him, I think, proposal, and then sign contracts. This will give you kind of completed percentage, which kind of helps track where in the funnel we saw on the homepage it is. And then as well, in these fields, you can control what processes the salesperson can skip. And then also at what point in the process does the salesperson need to create a sales quote in the system for. So I'll show you what that looks like as well. Another thing which helps drive kind of the process and what we need to kind of keep track of are these activities. So under or within a stage, there can be multiple tasks or to-dos, they're called in the system, assigned to us. So if I open up this initiation one, for example, and just open this up, you can see that at this stage, all we do is contact. All we want to do is contact and qualify the opportunity, and it gives us a date in which we need to do that. So I'm prompted and I get a to-do within a week to go contact and qualify that person. Then if I go to the next kind of activity and open this one up, you get the idea. You can set those different to-dos up there as well. So in that case, when we get to qualification, I'm going to follow up with them, and then I'm going to provide an initial estimate with those different date formulas too. So we'll show you how those to-dos work. So we have created opportunity. We've assigned the sales cycle because we haven't dealt with Nick before, so it's a new sales cycle. And to get the ball rolling here, all we need to do is activate it. And once we activate the opportunity, I can now go back to Nick, have a conversation with him, and when I do so, I can then update the opportunity once we've kind of had a chat. We've looked at those kind of tasks and to-dos before. So just to show you what those look like, there's this task button in the ribbon. And if I open this up, that task has been automatically created in the CRM system and assigned to me as a salesperson. So, I can track these and close them off as and when we work through them. You can add any notes against them as well, saying spoken to Nick, meeting next week, whatever you'd like it to say. You pop in a note against it, go to the task and obviously close it off. But then you've got all those tasks against the opportunities in case you want to keep track of them. So one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to just update the opportunity and progress it to the next stage, because this window here is a really helpful thing. So this allows me to kind of progress the opportunity forward and to put in an estimated value and a chance of success. This will default based on the sales cycle stage, but at this moment in time, I might think the opportunity is worth something around £1,000. So I'm just going to go ahead and press OK to move it forwards. But interestingly enough, I think I've just seen in Teams, like there's a little notification. So again, I'm just going to click the Teams quickly and see what's going on there. And in this example here, we've created a sales team within Microsoft Teams. And we've just created a really quick Power Automate, which whenever a new opportunity is created, just post a message into the team so the whole team's aware. Now, these Power Automate things are really simple and really quick to do. To show you how quick they are to do, I shouldn't admit this, but create this in 9:53. So kind of cutting it a bit fine there. But with Power Automate, they have templates you can select from to add these things into Business Central. And just to show you what this looks like, I'm just going to edit the Power Automate flow itself. It just got 2 steps to it. The first thing it does, and when you create these Power Automate flows, the trigger I'm using here is when a record is created. Now, I'm using the opportunity record, but the really powerful thing about Power Automate flows, you could do this again for anything. You could create these notifications or these approvals whenever a quote is created, a document is created, a vendor is created, an item is created, anything like that. So not specific to opportunities at all. But in this case, I've just said, hey, when an opportunity is created, I want to tell people and let them know. And then all I did then was there's a pre-templated action for post a message in a chat or channel. And I just selected our sales team, selected the channel, and popped in a message there. And really, if I had a little more time, I would have inserted a link to go back to the record so people can click it and see the opportunity themselves. But really handy, you can kind of update people and post messages in Teams there. Another thing, maybe just to kind of look at while we're in Teams, you see here we've got this kind of opportunities page, and any data in Business Central, like opportunities, contact lists, you can add these as tabs into Microsoft Teams so everyone can see the data within here. So this is really handy, especially if I'm out on the roads. I can go to Teams, I can go to this list, I can see what's going on. Importantly though, if you have people in the business that have a Microsoft Teams account but may not have a Business Central account, they can see all of this data without a Business Central license. They can't update it, they can't obviously modify data, but you may want to give them a view of maybe items or contacts or opportunities, whatever it is, whatever that may be in your case. You can kind of add those tabs into Teams so the whole team can see it.
It's worth noting that there is permissions there, so you can decide what those people without license are allowed to see. So you don't have to just open your whole database up to them. But yeah, it's basically free for anyone that's got a Microsoft 365 license.
Yeah.
We do have some questions in the chat. Do all roles within BC have the ability to add contacts?
Or licenses?
Yeah.
Correct. Any license, any user with any license, obviously permission depending, can create a contact in BC, both team member and essential users.
Just not the free Microsoft Teams, Microsoft 365 access.
Yeah.
Is it obvious when a email comes in whether the contact already exists as a contact?
Yeah, actually. So in this case, if I go back here, if I click on, good question, contact insights, it'll go and find if Nick exists or not. So in this case, that's a good kind of indication contact already exists. Otherwise, it would pop up and say, contact doesn't exist, you need to create one.
And finally, how should we set up contact nominees? Are they a person related to a company type, or the master and the child both persons linked to the same customer?
So I think it depends what you mean by nominees, but essentially on a customer record, you can specify who the contact is for this customer. So the company contact is related directly to the customer, and then on there there's a field on the customer record which is contact, and then you can choose one of the people that related to that company to be your kind of main contact of the company. So you'd say Nick is the main contact of TVT. There is also an additional setup to say for this document type, who is the contact? Which email address do I use? Which contact's email address do I use to send that document? So like if you might have a contact for normal operations, but the invoices go to the finance team. So you can set up the contact of finance at that business, and then set that for that document layout type. All invoices or statements go to the finance contact.
Great. Just to progress and close this opportunity off, a few things I wanted to show you quickly. If I go back to my role center, obviously this list of open opportunities is going to kind of tick up and keep track of that. If you go up and open these opportunities, you can see the status they're in. You can see the stage it's at. You can see, if it's new or existing customers, the sales cycle, and estimated closing date. And if you're familiar with kind of like sorting, filtering in here, you'll be able to obviously split this by salesperson. But you can also use this analysis view in Business Central. So if I just click this, again, I get an editable list with all that data. And then maybe if I just go to Copilot here, I could say, can you group this by salesperson, please? Bit of a lazy request on my part, but then whatever you want to kind of filter that list by, I now see pipeline by salesperson, so I can follow up with everybody. So I can see JO has 7 opportunities, BC, it's kind of confusing, salesperson for this demo, has 2, and then HR has a couple as well. So you can go and group that by maybe type or current status to see where they are. But those analysis views are really handy. And then you can save those in this list and share with the team. So again, nothing would stop me copying that link and posting it in that Teams channel we just saw before as well. That being said, though, just to kind of progress this opportunity forwards, I think we've just received another email from Nick. So we've had a chat to him. He wants a quote for 2 desks and 10 chairs. So if I go and find our opportunity in the list, sorry, that's for Ian, not for Nick. Just go find this. And it was for this one for £1,000. Then if I go and update this opportunity at the next stage, interestingly, the system, because beforehand we specified when we want to generate the sales quote, it's going to pop up and say, no, you can't progress the opportunity without creating a sales quote first. So if I just cancel this off, from the opportunity, I can press create sales quotes. Here's the draft document. And then in here, I could quickly just find, I think he wanted 2 desks and 10 chairs. So I could just pop those onto the sales quote, enter the quantities, and then go back. Interestingly, when we now update the opportunity, it's going to take the estimated value from the sales quote itself, based as opposed to the guess I put in before. Now we've added those items to it. So now I can go ahead, progress the opportunity, and there we go. If we want to close this opportunity off, one thing we can do, as and when we're going back to Nick with the sales quote and we're applying to him on it, is whenever I then close this sales quote, again, going back to the integration with the rest of the system, the salesperson here can click this make order to move the documents from a sales quote to a sales order. So then it's, the rest of the team can see it and it can be ready to be shipped and invoiced. So at this point, if I go ahead and click make order, I'm going to get a message, do you want to convert the quote to an order? And then, because there's an open opportunity against this, it's going to say to me, do I want to close the opportunity off at the same time? So I don't have to, confirm the sales quote and then go back and then close the opportunity after. It can all be done at the same time for us. So in this case, I'm going to say yes. And you've got opportunity statuses. So again, if you're going to close the opportunity, you can mark whether it's won or lost. And then you get an opportunity code you can use for reporting afterwards. I love some of the default ones, knowledge of customer business, competent consultant, best price. I think we're going to go for competent consultant in this case because we've got some backup on the call. So close this off. And then in that case, it's saying the quote has been converted to the order. Do I want to open it? Yes or no? So I can go and open up that sales order if I wish and send it over to him. Great.
I think it's worth saying that we have seen systems, we've done systems before where we've skipped opportunities altogether and just added those sales cycle status codes and win loss onto the quote directly. I think the reason there are arguments for and against it. Fundamentally, the difference of using opportunity is that it gives you a place to just put a single number. This deal we think is worth £100,000. With a quote, you need to add lines with some description. Now you could use quotes and add an item of type, miscellaneous, and put the number against that. It really depends at what point you want to capture the opportunity and how much detail you want to capture. Whether if on that first contact, roughly the products they're going to want, you could skip and go straight to quotes and not use opportunities at all. If you go through a kind of longer lead sales cycle where you do have ideas of numbers but no real detail of actual, enough to make a quote out, that's where opportunity is really useful. So we see people do both, but opportunities have that value, that idea of I just want to put a single number on this thing and guess how much it's worth to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave the screen. I'll go on.
One final thing to show before we leave here is, again, go back to your point of whether to use opportunities, whether to use sales quotes. In this case, we just had another email from Nick saying, those chairs were amazing. Can I please get a quote for 2 more? I think the boss took 2 of them home. So in this case, if we didn't want to go through an opportunity because we've already done business with Nick, we don't want to go through their proposal, presentation, tracking, signing up the contract, those sorts of steps. From Outlook, I could click that Business Central button and create the sales quote directly from here. So this is now going to read the email and try and kind of match the email to sales lines or items, I should say. So in here, I could see, okay, it's found the power gesture, which is great. And it's found the quantity of 2. But funnily enough, because I said that the boss took 2 of them home, it's matched the word home to 2 other items in the item list. So I can ignore that because it's just the power chairs I want. Click OK. And then the system's going to create a sales quote for me, assigned to TBT with those 2 items directly in Outlook. So from here, I can just go click this little 3 dots, click send by email, and then it's going to draft an email for me. I can reply to Nick with the sales quotes so he can reply and come back to us. So there is our draft with the PDF of the sales quote attached. And there we go. So we've got that draft there. So now I could just pop in and say, maybe I want to personalize it a little bit. Hi, Nick. Oops. No problem. So here's that quote. And let me know if you have any questions. Send. So nice way as well of creating sales quotes, sales orders, purchase orders directly from Outlook using our little contact insights feature there to create those records. Obviously, all based on the permission you have in Business Central as well, whether you've got the permission to create those documents.
Perfect. So hopefully, so that's taken us from first meeting, getting an email from a contact, all the way through to from a person, creating them as a contact, creating opportunity, going through a couple of updates on the opportunity sales cycles, creating the quotes, and converting it into an order, all in one flow. I think it's back to that idea that we didn't jump to a different system, we didn't integrate to create the order, we just pressed order, and that's all linked together in the same one ERP solution. The thing I want to just steal the screen for a second and not react, and just talk about briefly. This is not really specific to CRM, but it's worth talking about is sales prices. Obviously, when we look at integrated CRM systems, you've also got to integrate the pricing mechanisms. And often we find that in some CRM systems, they don't use sales price in the same way. They're not defined in the same way. So you have to kind of accept or allow for the fact that, you know, the CRM module talks about pricing this way and has these sort of features, and BC's ordering system, where you're going to put your orders through in the end, or certainly invoicing, uses a slightly different pricing structure. Obviously, part of the big thing about being integrated is we have one pricing module. So if I go into my into that contact TV, as I mentioned earlier, this is the contact record with all the kind of CRM side of things. If I click on here, I can go straight to that customer card. So now I'm looking at a financial record. The reason I'm here is because we have support for customer price groups. So obviously Microsoft have revamped the sales pricing module over the last couple of years. So now we have price lists. So we can see that this customer is part of the very important customers price group. And if I go to sales price lists, we can see I've got two price lists, a default one and a VIP one. And so now I can say for all customers that are in this customer price group VIP, these are the prices that get applied. And obviously that applies all the way back to the quoting process. So this price list is now applied from the quotes all the way through, and obviously inherits through to the order. So you don't have to have two separate price lists. You don't need to synchronize them. We've got one standard functionality for how it does this, and it's pretty good now. It's actually might have made quite a lot of a big improvement to it to make it this price list structure rather than kind of what we had before, which was this huge flat pricing price list that you had to manage regardless of how it was segmented. So the standard price list functionality is really nice. And it does tie into another piece of CRM functionality, which is campaigns. So Business Central does have a module in it called campaigns. And campaigns are all about pricing, fundamentally. That's what they're for. I said at the start of this that Business Central isn't a marketing, outbound marketing solution. Campaigns kind of, if you looked at it, you kind of think it was, but it's not. What campaigns are really about is saying, I want to set up some special prices between a certain date time. I want to be able to control the status of the campaign, whether it's been approved, and go through that workflow setting up the campaign. And then I want to be able to link it to a price list. So I'm saying I want to link it to some sales prices somewhere. So I can go through and define this price list is for that campaign. So I can now go in here, create a new one, and now say, this is my price list for my, summer sale. And instead of being linked to a customer or to anything more like that, I can link it directly to a campaign. That means any orders that come through or quotes that come through, they can use the campaign code to essentially apply like special pricing. Now, obviously, we can pre-target customers for this, but means you can, and they will automatically get the campaign price. But if you want, you can just go to sales quote, fill in the campaign code, and whatever prices you've listed here, they inherit. So this campaigns part of the CRM module is primarily, I'd say, around price management and price list management, but you can do that from customer price groups as well. So we can do all.
Nice.
I'll hand it back to you now, Nick.
Nice. Just
quickly, we do have another question in the chat. Can the wider sales team be given access to selected Outlook communications with a contact, for example, for holiday sickness cover?
Let's come back to that. We're going to talk about that later on, but yes, is the answer to that, but we'll show you how.
Great. Just one quick thing I wanted to show before we keep moving on. Let me just share my screen again. I'm going to pinch that, Paul. So now we've looked at creating a contact, we've looked at creating opportunities, quotes, campaigns, those sorts of things. But there's also like a really interesting part of the CRM functionality in BC called profile questionnaires. And this is something we use internally quite a lot, and actually we're kind of a big fan of. So let's show you that. If I go to a contact card, you may notice on your contact in BC, you've got this kind of profile questionnaire thing. This allows you to add any specific kind of bits of information you want to collect against a contact and kind of answer them. So later on, we can show you how to then go and create a segment to go and find all contacts to meet certain criteria if you wanted to reach out to them or follow up with them about something in particular. The really helpful thing about profile questionnaires is you can go and record information you want to go and capture contacts for without creating fields in BC, if it's just something you want to use for like a certain campaign or certain activity. So helps you go group those contacts without adding any fields or doing any development. In this case, you can see against this Adatum Corporation, we've got a few answers in here. So if I go to contact and then profile, and this is just one of the ones that Microsoft kind of has in there. So again, you basically set up a question, you set up answers. You can specify if you allow multiple answers per question, so if you want to take multiple things. But in this case, this helps us track, okay, for the contacts we have in our database, how many employees do they have, what's their ownership structure, and how do we do business with them. And to show you another example, I created one here for webinar attendance because we're all sat on a webinar. So I can open this up, see which webinars did they attend. And obviously they attended last week's Intro to AI webinar, and we're all sat here today on the CRM one. So you go and tick these off, and later on, we can use this to go and group those contacts by those answers and do something with them. So really handy to you can go and create whatever you want to capture that data. And then you see on the contact themselves, we can see they attended the Intro to AI webinar and the CRM Unpacked webinar. Really helpful in something we use internally to track things like, do they use Continia? Do they use Jet? Do they use this? Do they use that? It's really handy for us to capture all that information so we can find out, okay, there's something new with Continia. Who do we need to reach out to and have a chat with? So it's one of those parts of CRM we quite fond of that we use quite a bit. Just to show you another example of those questionnaires, if I search for questionnaire setup, this before is where I created the webinar one. So you just pop an entry into this table and then you go to the edit setup page. Here you can just create a question, pop whatever you want to find out in here. Let's say what ISV solutions do they use? Terrible example, but first one that came to mind. And I could say maybe Continia, Jet, Insight, whatever it may be. And in this case, for that question, I can specify whether I want to allow multiple answers or not. So really easy to add kind of whatever information you want to capture onto the questionnaire. But as well as it being like manual, where someone will go in and kind of provide those answers and fill them in, you can also have like automatically calculated questionnaires for you. So if I open this one up, this is a really good example. And based on, let's say, data in the system, and again, going back to having sales in one place and all the orders in one place and all the pricing in one place, you can use contacts to go and automatically classify, okay, for all of our contacts, do they fall in the top 25% of customers, the middle 50, the bottom 25, etc. So all of these are set up as kind of automatically kind of classified questionnaires. So in this case, it's going to look at the profit on the customer record because the contact and the customer are linked. And within the last year, look at the overall profit and kind of sort that contact accordingly. So you can set them up to record things manually. You can also use take benefit of those calculations Microsoft are putting to kind of create those automatically classified questionnaires too.
Cool. Thanks, Nick. So the question really now is, now we've got all this data, what can we do with it? Obviously, you can go and look at the contact card and kind of, not the answer to the question, but this idea of knowing your customers or having access to information about your customers when the person that really knows them or has that relationship isn't in the building. Those profiles, questionnaires give you a really good place to capture that. But I want to talk about another mechanism to use all that data. And again, as you may have picked up my point, a lot about it being an integrated system. We don't just have all that information system that you've captured through the CRM module, profiles and quotes and those sort of things. We actually have not just orders, but all the way through to the finances. So we know exactly everything that happened with that customer, from the opportunity they raised, the interactions they had with us, and the fact that they bought one of those things 3 years ago. And that really comes together in the segmentation module of CRM. So if I go to my segments, I can create a new segment in BC. And I can call this people who I will sell a chair to. That's my description, my segment. Now, the big thing here is, how do I decide who is going to be on that segment? How do I use that information I now have about my contacts to generate a mailing list? So Firstly, I can go to add contacts. Pretty simply, I can tell it, I want to add some contacts. I want to expand all the companies. So I want I want the people, not just the company contacts. And then I've got loads of options of how I can filter. So I could say only these ones in this region or this territory or for this salesperson. I can look at mailing lists. There is a setup where you can define, your mailing lists. These guys have signed up for the summer event mailing list. Interactions, how we've communicated with them, what job responsibility they have. So anyone speak to, the buyers or whatever it may be, what industry that business is in, because there is a section in the contact module to say, I want to say these guys sit in one or more industries. But for this, I'm just going to say I want everyone that for the company information profile answered and said they are a company with 1 to 99 employees. That'll then pull through. Here now I've got all my contacts, companies and people that are in businesses that we've said are 1 to 99 employees. So they're kind of my small businesses. So the next thing I need to do, actually, I don't really want to email info ads. I don't want to email the companies. I don't want to email the people. So the next thing I need to do is go here and say I want to refine my contacts. I've got all these. I've got 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, but I want to refine them from that list. I want to only keep some that match another level of criteria. So here I can say I'm going to say I only want to keep them where they are of type person. Again, I could now say I've loaded it all up. Now only keep the ones in this mailing group, or I could have another question. So only people that are in 1 to 99 and are self-owned or are in my top 25 or don't use discounts, whatever it may be, I can keep refining and reducing that list down. So now I've just got the people at those businesses that are relatively small. But the thing that I think you can do that pretty easily in things like Excel and other tools. The thing that we often find difficult in reporting tools is telling you things that didn't happen. It's really easy to say, now I want to say only people that have bought this sort of product from us before. But how do you say, I want the list of people that didn't buy that product? It's a bit of an interesting challenge. We see a lot in BI tools. They have this challenge of how do you solve it? And BC has a really simple answer to that. It's called reduce contacts. So now I can decide not just who I want to keep, but who I want to take out. So I want to take out all the contacts where we have a thing called a value entry. Now, a value entry is a ledger that gets created when you ship goods to someone. So now I can say, I want to remove everyone that has, in a certain date time or since the beginning of time, in my example, had an entry where we sold them one or more of these chairs. I press OK to that. And now this has left me a list of all the customers that have an answer to a profile questionnaire that I like, only the people, and only those that have never bought that product. And that's a really valuable segment now. Now, the nice thing with this is when it does that, you can actually see in the segment the criteria that was used. So it builds that up as a set of type steps. So if I want to do that again in a month's time, I can rerun that same criteria against a new segment and generate a new list of people that still haven't bought one of our chairs. Now, BC does then have a next step of this, which is called interactions. So I can say I want to email all these people. What that does is essentially, literally a mail merge. It uses Word's mail merge functionality to take all the information we have about the contacts and a Word template that you define, and it uses standard mail merge functionality to say, I want to put hi, first name, some text and some offers, whatever it may be, and I can at each point put placeholders for the data we're getting from Business Central. And that'll work. And then you log the segment, and that essentially will generate those emails and send them out using your mailbox. So it uses whoever you are, the person that's running it, it sends from you. In practice, that's fine for kind of small things, but we find that most people don't want to do that. They want to send it through a mail filtering tool that supports click-through analysis and all this sort of thing. MailChimp, HubSpot, those sorts of tools. So what we often find is this is the point of integration. Instead of logging and creating the entry in BC, we trigger the log mechanism and then integrate that, either output a standard CSV file to import somewhere else or integrate directly into services like HubSpot and MailChimp and those sorts of things. But we use BC as the engine to generate the list because Business Central has all that data now. So we think segments are really cool, but you should think about them more as a data analysis tool than really a high-grade mail shotting tool. Now, the last thing I want to talk about and kind of bring us close on our session is, so I think Nick and I have talked you through most of what is standard in BC from a CRM module. The thing that we don't think is present in the standard CRM module is that point about communication. There is a thing in BC called interactions. You can go to a contact and create interactions, but it's quite hard work. There's quite a few screens to go through to do it, and it's not very flexible. It doesn't really represent how we work day to day. So we added a module to called the diary. So if I now go and look at a contact, I can see I've got me as a contact, and click in here, and we've now got this diary. Now let's assume this is a new lead I've got in, and I can use the diary for a couple of things. I can add a simple note like came in via the web. Are good friends with Bob, the owner. There you go. And now I've got a note against my contact that I can always come back to see that's what happened on that date. They came in via the web, and I know that they're friends with Bob. But that's not all I can do. It might be that I actually then want to follow up having a meeting with them. Now, I don't know you guys, when I have meetings now these days, we tend to transcribe them. So what I can do is I can actually, instead of typing in my note, I have the meeting, I can go to here and say, create a note from a transcript, create a diary entry from a transcript. And there's two sections here. There's the transcript, literally the team's recording, and my notes. Now, because I'm lazy, I don't want to type these things in. I'm going to upload a file. I'm going to upload the transcript. And I'm going to go and grab that from my transcript folder. So there's my transcript. And that is a totally fake transcript of a conversation between Alan and Paul. But often what I find is, I don't know what you guys do, I find if I just take a transcript from a call and do that, I don't get much context. It kind of is a bit, the AI can be a bit woolly. What I often do is in meetings, I'll take my own version of notes, but I'm pretty bad at it. So what I can do is I can now upload into this my notes, and I can go and drop those in as well. That's all I took in my notes because I knew there was a transcript recording, and then I can send that to Copilot to generate my diary entry for me. What that'll do is that'll send all the notes and the transcript to AI with some instructions and generate me my next a headline. This is what they're doing. This is actually a customer's downsizing their office because they recently had bad performance. They are, I've got some next steps it's pulled out and a summary of the conversation. And obviously you can drive the Copilot to be more concise, more detailed, focus on certain things and rerun that. But that looks pretty good to me. So now I've got a diary entry against the contact saying that we had this meeting. But that's all well and good. But actually what I want is some actions. So I'm going to use the same AI tool, Copilot, to generate some follow-up entries. That's now reading all my notes and saying, well, these are the things you said you'd do. Well, I'm going to prepare and send some detailed furniture proposal. I'm going to plan their purchase approach. I'm just going to I'll use that one. I'll keep that task. That's now generated me a task. Because now I can see I had a meeting with them and these are the follow-up tasks that came out of it, which is a pretty normal kind of sales process. Those tasks are also diary entries. So I can now see I've got a diary entry of type task sitting there to give them a call. So I'm going to, to send them a proposal. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create an opportunity. Chairs. When I activate this opportunity, we'll now see that we've got a task, which, as Nick showed before, was created from that sales cycle to go and qualify opportunity. So I've now got a to-do to do. This obviously will show my role center as a thing in my to-dos. So I've now got 3 to-dos to do. One of them is go and qualify that opportunity, and I can go and open that record if I want. Now, the nice thing is, obviously, we have the Outlook add-in. So if I wanted to, I could say an email's come in from that person. It's matched by email address. So now I've got, if I just reload my screen, I've got an email sitting in my mailbox. Thanks for that meeting. We've reviewed the pricing and happy to place their order for 100 chairs. So what I can do now is I can go from them in BC, direct to the opportunity. I can go and look at the opportunity card. And if I go and look, there's my diary, my outstanding to do. And instead of typing that in, I can go to the diary and say, just capture the email. And what I'll do, it's now captured. There's my order confirmation. I can actually go and look at that email. Actually, let's pop it out because it's a bit bigger. We'll pop it out in its own screen. Now I can see it captured the email, it recorded the subject and the body, it summarized it for me. And if I wanted to, I could then generate more follow-up entries to now do what he wanted to do. He wanted me to confirm the delivery date. So it's now going to generate me another task to do that. If I come all the way back to my opportunity now, I can see in BC, I've got somewhere. I should have now a task. I can see that's been linked to my opportunity. I linked to the wrong one. So you can create these diary entries as just notes. I had a conversation, or it's a to-do, or it's just a notes. Sorry, it could be a note, a meeting I had. It can also be a to-do system that allows us to generate actions that can then be go through a process, can be assigned to people, can have due dates, all that sort of stuff. So it's a combination of both your notebook and your to-do list. And the nice thing with this is we're not just, if you create the task against, say, opportunity, it will also appear on the contact. So if I now go back to my contact and I look at those, if I look at me, I can now see these are all the notes I've created. These are my tasks are outstanding to do. It obviously will also link to my company as well. So I don't just see those tasks on the opportunity. I can now go and see for that particular business, what are all the things we've got outstanding. And I can also see that as it flows through from order to invoice, these diary entries follow the whole record process all through, and always link back to that customer and contact. So you can see what is going on, what are my things I need to be doing for this customer today. So that links it all together. And that is the diary entry.
Yeah, Paul, I guess on that point, like it's interesting probably to explain where that diary came from, because when going back to the start of the conversation, we were on our journey about kind of migrating back from an external system back to BC. We kind of realized that, as you saw before, you can add notes against the records on like the right hand side. You can add to tasks or to-dos from the sales cycle stage, but it doesn't kind of collate all that data onto one place. So we built that diary entry for our internal system first as well, just to help us have a quick way of going onto a contact and just writing something down, or then just going onto the contact, creating an action to say, okay, I need to remember to do that next week. And that's really where this was born from. It was just having a quick and easy place to go and record that data, as opposed to, if any of you have played with the opportunities in standard BC, you'll understand you've got to click through quite a few pages, which of course people in the sales team won't want to do, to go and just update a quick note or a task. So that was very much where that's born from. But again, goes back to the first conversation. This is probably like the first, maybe not necessarily hole we're trying to plug, but thing we're trying to improve. So if there are additional things along the way as you're playing with the system, please do let us know, because we'd be keen to hear that feedback.
Oh, right. I think we're almost at time, so I'm going to move us back through to wrap up. The last thing, licensing. Unless any questions in the chat to answer. We are licensing. Nick, you're the sales guy. You can do the licensing bit.
Yeah. So in short, I think we answered this a little bit before. Probably goes without saying, an essential user or premium user, if you're on a premium license, can do anything, obviously permission dependent. And there are also team members with Business Central. Team member can basically update anything in the system, but just can't create a new opportunity or a new questionnaire. They can answer a questionnaire, they can answer the profile, but they can't create a new one. So that being said, you may obviously want to, if you have people filling out a form in HubSpot, you may want to create an integration which automatically creates that as an opportunity in the system, which then the team member can then update and progress through. So there is a line in the sand, and as a standard, you can't have a team member create an opportunity from scratch or create a questionnaire from scratch, but they can update any existing ones. So probably licensing wise, that's the big thing just to kind of note before you start playing with it.
Any questions on this stuff, please reach out. Happy to chat about licensing and all the features you can and can't do. So what to do next? As we said, we've shown you, we keep coming back to this Outlook, and I think we think it's underused and not really talked about enough. You may have picked that up from us. So enable it. It's free as well. It's including your license. It's easy to install. Have a go. Install it. You can install it for limited users, but it all works and integrates really nicely. Start creating your contacts. If you look at your system today and go to contacts, you might see you've already got loads, because when in most systems by default, when you create a company or a customer, it will create a contact for you. So you might find you've already got all your customers in there, just not the people. So I think those are the first two things to do. Number 3, make use of this functionality. It's there, it's in your license. As we said, you don't need to use the whole piece. Just capturing contact information, profile questionnaires, those sort of things is really good data to have for future. And finally, give us some feedback. As I said at the start, we are looking, this is an area we're getting lots of interest. We're looking to do more with. If you've got ideas of why this doesn't fit for you, or where you'd see, it'd be great if we're really looking for ideas on how to continue to flesh out, much like we've done with the diary solution, how we can flesh out the features of this of the module. One final ask. If you've been on webinars before, you'll see this. So please scan the QR code, follow the link. This is to a Microsoft feedback form. So we get good recognition from it. It also helps fund these, to be honest. But we are going to make it worth your while. We'll enter you into a draw for a £50 Amazon voucher or a £50 donation to a charity of your choice. So please do fill in the question of the forms. It's really, really helpful for us. And Anne will be phoning you anyway and asking you to do it. So with that, we've got some upcoming webinars. I'm conscious we're over time, but yes, if you go on our website and look at tvision.tech/event/webinars, you'll see we've got a whole program of webinars, some around Business Central like this, looking at existing Business Central functionality. There's a whole section about AI and all the AI in BC and AI in the industry. And obviously, if you're a Bevica focused person, then there's a series of Bevica webinars as well. So yeah, please go and have a look, come to our webinars. And again, feedback would be great, how we can do these better for you. And with that, thank you very much. And we hope you have a lovely day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all. Bye.
Bye.